It's 27 degrees Celsius here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily, your daily dose of clarity and sunshine. I'm Maokpe Ogun Yusuf.
Well, it's been a bit sunny here in Lagos, and it's looking like that again this morning. 31 degrees, I'm Ayomakide. Welcome to March 17, 2026.
Indeed, Ayo, March 17 has great implications for certain countries, such as Ireland, who celebrate St. Patrick's Day today in their country, and also even parts of the Christian community here in Nigeria also celebrate St. Patrick's Day. But it's not a day of celebration in Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, as we understand that two explosions occurred in the city of Maiduguri yesterday at the entrance of the Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, that's the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, and also at the Maiduguri Monday Market, as well as the post office flyover area. A statement released by the Borno State Police Command says that a total of 23 persons are said to have lost their lives, while 108 others sustained varying degrees of injury. Now, we are understanding that suspected Boko Haram members could have masterminded the blasts that occurred at the various locations in Maiduguri. So this morning we're still trying to hook up with not just our correspondent there, but also the CMD of the hospital, that's the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital, to see what the situation is as at this morning, because we do know that situations like this can be fluid, and for us to fully ascertain the total number of people affected by this particular disaster. Well, we also hear that the Borno State Command, the Borno State Governor, Babagana Zulum, has condemned in strongest terms the explosion that occurred in some parts of the metropolis on Monday evening. The governor, who is currently in Saudi Arabia for the Lesser Hajj, described the attack as despicable, cruel, and cowardly, targeting innocent people in the holy month of Ramadan. Well, we certainly will bring you up to speed with that situation, which is still unfolding in Borno as a result of the multiple attacks, the multiple bomb blasts that were set off in Maiduguri, the state capital. Well, while we keep an eye on that particular state, we're also going to Ondo state now, which is in southwest Nigeria, where yesterday the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria released a statement saying that the four suspected bandits were apprehended within the vicinity of the Akure airport following a coordinated security operation involving aviation and local security agencies. We understand that this arrest was it came after a distress alert that suspicious individuals were sighted behind the airport perimeter towards the Eleyewo community. In response, security personnel comprising Fans Aviation Security, the Nigerian Air Force, the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Police Force, and other local security outfits immediately launched a joint security operation. During the operation, some individuals were seen attempting to flee the area. 4 suspects were eventually apprehended by the joint security team and have been handed over to the Nigeria Police Force Area Command for further interrogation. Well, this was a statement released by the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria yesterday, titled "Fan Avisec Others Arrest Bandits at Akure Airport." However, hours after this report was released, the Nigeria Police Ondo State Command released another statement saying that they wish to categorically refute the misleading reports currently circulating across the media platforms alleging that 4 bandits were arrested at the Akure airport. The authorities in Ondo State say they debunk the reports. Beg your pardon, I'm looking for the particular part. They say, for the avoidance of doubt, the command wishes to state clearly that no such incident occurred at the Akure airport and there was no security breach of any kind at the facility. Well, just to get clarity and clarification as to what exactly transpired around the airport in Ondo State. We're joined this morning by the Commissioner of Police, Mr. Adebowale Lawal, is a CP in Ondo State. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, CP. It's a pretty confusing situation we're seeing this morning, because we had initially thought, owing to the statement released by FAN and all the people that they listed here, they said security personnel comprising FAN's aviation security, Nigerian Air Force, Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Police Force, and other local security outfits immediately launching a joint search operation, that the Nigerian Police Force will come out to say there was no such thing. There's been a misrepresentation of what transpired. Can you tell us what truly transpired at the airport yesterday in Ondo State?
Well, thank you so much. Good morning. The issue is this. Police received information, and that led to the arrest of one of the logistics suppliers to some criminals in Ondo State. But as a matter of fact, let me make this calculation first. Bandits or banditry activities in Ondo State. An arrest was made. I was told that the person was one of the suppliers of those criminals. His arrest led to the arrest, culminated into the arrest of one other suspect, making two at first at Electoral, then two. The second person was arrested somewhere at Luabo. Then after the arrest, those arrested were leading police to hideouts of their gang members, which of course, there are two sides to it, by the right and to the left. So the right of it depends on where you are going. If you are going to Owo, the other community, LO community, to the right, that is where we have the airport. So they were going to that LO side to arrest other members, the other gang members. That was exactly what happened. Immediately they cited the police, they fled. So there was nothing like invading the airport. And we have met with the management of the airport yesterday, and we were able to sort it out. There was no form of invasion at the airport. No. The airport is safe. And the manager too, when he went there, to reassure her of our efforts in ensuring that the workers there, the structures there, are well protected. So the information from FAN, very, very misleading. And that was why we refuted that, so that we made the clarification, so that the good people of Nigeria, of good people of Ondo State in particular, the good people of Nigeria should not panic. Akure Airport is safe. Not like any invasion.
While we understand the need to reassure Nigerians and for people to be confident that the airport in Ondo State is, as a matter of fact, not just the airport in Ondo State, but at least all our airports are safe, which I think FAN also tried to underscore in their own statement. It is very worrisome when it would seem that a statement released by an authority such as FAN is disputed completely, because what you are saying is that it appears that the account being given by FAN, which is totally different from the account you are giving to us, sounds like it has been concocted in the imagination of the person who wrote this particular statement. It has no bearing whatsoever to what it is that you are telling. They sound like two completely different incidences. What we had been told initially was that some people made an incursion on the runway in Ondo State and shouting for help, saying that they were in some form of distress, and then said they had sighted people on motorbikes around that particular area, and they thought that those people could be terrorists or bandits, as the case might be, and that prompted this particular search. But you are saying that no such thing occurred, that it was one arrest that was made, and then another gang member was arrested in another place entirely, and then these people seem to be leading you somewhere. Was there any correlation with the airport yesterday? I mean, given the statement that FAN has issued?
You see, the command was shocked to read that, to read that press release by FAN. And that's why I said it earlier, that we don't carry out the operation. I wouldn't know where they got their information from. Because when I met with the manager, the FAN at the airport, we were able to have this discussion. I was not alone. I went there with the corps commander at Motekon. I made her to understand that, look, this information was misleading. You can't ignore the quality. If I send 4 bandits, as much as we didn't even not arrest 4, we arrested 2. Then another suspect was arrested outside that Iluabo. He was arrested at the top person was arrested at Iluabo. So not even 4. 3 were arrested. Handed over to police. Handed over to the area commander of Bali. Not 4. So we're not saying 4 bandits are arrested at the airport. Very, very misleading. And that was why we took our time to visit the scene. And we discussed extensively with the manager that there was no such invasion. No such invasion.
So nobody made an incursion on the runway. Is that correct? There was no incursion on the runway. Nobody was seen fleeing on bikes around the airport area. Yes, motorbikes.
The bike man was one we arrested, one of the logistics suppliers that we arrested with his bike. When we arrested another person, making 2. Then the third person was arrested at Iluabo. And that's something to do with the first 2 arrests made. So that bike you are saying should have been for the first person we arrested that led to culminated into the arrest of the second suspect. Of course, the supplier must have mode of mobility now.
Okay.
So
was there any joint operation by the Air Force, Nigerian Army, and Nigeria Police Force as a result of that bike man being cited?
Upon the arrest of that bike man and the second suspect, Amotekun came in. I'm aware of the Amotekun, the state Amotekun corps. They came in. So it was more of police, the Amotekun. And of course, to know the experience of other forces there. But it was not a joint operation per se. It was an information received that led to the arrest of those 2. So it was not a joint operation. We didn't carry out any joint operation.
Well, I'm sure my colleague Ayo would also like to weigh in on this conversation. Ayo, over to you.
Well, thank you, Mokwe. Actually, a good number of all the issues have been raised. Sir, the only challenge that I'm looking at now is how this coordination happens, particularly airport security. For an official of FAN to have made that statement public, it suggests something. He claims that your men were with them when they carried out this joint security sweep. And if you are denying it, do you think there is a need for some investigation? Perhaps something happened that you are not aware of?
I am aware of everything that happened. Everything that happened about the arrest of those 2 suspects. There was no 4 bandits were arrested at the airport. 2, there were no persons who ran through the runway. Like I said earlier, 2 suspects were arrested. They were taking the team to where the other gang members were. And on citing the police, they fled. That is it.
Was there any disruption at all? My apologies.
I mentioned also.
Yes.
that those who were arrested were logistics suppliers to certain criminal elements.
We hear you on that,
Also,
CP, but
obviously, there was a bike, a rider.
Okay. Was there any flight disruption at all as a result of this activity, to the best of your knowledge?
Not at all.
So
to the best of my knowledge,
none of all of these activities got on any runway at the airport at all?
To the best of my knowledge, none. Because the manager should have told us yesterday when we met with her. I was in an office, I visited the scene. And I don't go alone. I went with the corps commander and myself.
Did this activity in any way, to the best of your knowledge, disrupt any operation of at the airport yesterday, to the best of your knowledge?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No.
All right. Well, have you spoken to any of the other security agencies because, I mean, as we all know, the police is the lead agency of any internal security situation. So I'm wondering if that claim has been made, and as you saw on our screen earlier, security operatives were there being paraded, I mean, showing, that their readiness and all. Was there any joint activity by your men with these people, to the best of your knowledge?
Sorry, come again.
Was there any joint activity? Because in the videos that we saw, I didn't notice any policeman at the airport from the videos that we have been seeing on the screen, and which a number of people were also aware of. Was there any joint activity between your men and other security agencies on this particular issue?
You mean as regards this particular
yes.
issue?
Yes.
The men who carried out the operation, they were not on uniform. The tactical team. The tactical team operatives that went for the operation, not police or uniform. And I took answer to go further. My other colleagues, civil defense, the Amotekun, and all of us, we've done an analysis, and we realized that there was no incursion, there was no invasion at the airport.
All right. Akure, back to you.
CP, we have to thank you so much for shedding light on the situation. We hope that in future that there will be greater collaboration so that we do not have a situation like this. It's quite embarrassing that FAN releases such a statement and the police has to come out to clarify and say, no such thing occurred. This is not how it happened, and this is not how many suspects we have in our custody. And this suspect, we think that they're just regular, I don't want to say regular criminals because there's no such thing, but you do know the difference, the different categories we have of criminals in our society today. We have terrorists, we have bandits, we have, and they all connote different things in terms of what is happening within a region. But we have to thank you so much for taking the time to clarify what exactly happened at the Ondo State Airport. Thank you for your time. We've been speaking with Commissioner of Police, Mr. Adebowale Lawal, who is the Commissioner of Police in Ondo State. Thank you so much, CP, sir. Well, we take a break now. When we come back, we'll be taking a look at what exactly is happening with the INEC timetable and further reactions. Yesterday, the African Democratic Congress had quite a number of reactions to a plot they think is to make President Bola Ahmed Tinubu the sole candidate presented as the presidential candidate in the upcoming elections. We'll take a look at that and a number of other issues in just a moment. Please stay with us. Barrister Chima Naji joins us now, and we're taking a look at all the developments around our elections as they come up one after the other. Mr. Naji, it's good to see you. It's been quite a while. We haven't hosted you on this program, but we're certainly happy to have you back. Welcome. I'm sure you must have been watching with very keen interest developments around, first, the Electoral Act. We saw all the drama around whether there will be electronic transmission or not. and then we eventually saw what the House and the Senate eventually agreed on. What are your own immediate impressions? Because you're a legal practitioner. What are your own immediate impressions as to, first, the drama that transpired, and eventually, would I say, the consensus that was agreed on by members of the National Assembly? Let's not also forget the fact that they were also able to still amend the Electoral Act shortly after to reflect, or will I say, to punish those who will be members of two political parties at any point in time.
Well, many people have given up on this National Assembly because of a litany of events that come short of expectation of a people in a hurry to achieve national development through political engineering. And the instrumentality of achieving that is through an electoral process that is very highly transparent, fair, and equitable, in which, in fact, the traditional political science classics is that the ballot is the most silent killer. So that if you go to the ballot, like Akure once said, that if you tried after the election, if he did not win, check the mortuary. If he won, you check the state house. It portrayed the faith in people deciding your fate as a politician. But today, it is the politicians that seem angling to decide the fate of the voters, which is like the dog wagging the tail, wagging the head of the dog. And it's an aberration, and they cannot stand. It's just a Pyrrhic victory they have achieved, and they are gloating. There's no reason why the people who sent people to represent them, a delegate does not become the Oga of those who delegated them. It is not done, even in law. And that is what we are observing, because the people who are there hardly understand perhaps their roles, or they are so mischievous that they want to so fraudulently change the game. So Nigerians are so disappointed, and I am one of those Nigerians. There is no reason why we should not depersonalize. If you recall, many years, Channels Television, and I was part and parcel of that crusade, about 2011 or thereabout, that we should depersonalize the electoral process, such that interventions of human frailties, glitches, and so on will be avoided. We have found that seamlessly in the banking sector. So I don't know why because people are not trusting their capacity to win elections, they always want to muzzle their ways. And that is why you see Nigeria, the so-called giant of Africa, has accumulated so much clay on its foot that it cannot move. So I'm not happy about it.
Oh dear, it does appear that connection with Barrister Naji is a bit faulty this morning. Barrister, if you can hear us, I just want to let you know that we might need to work on the audio of your connection. It seems frozen, and we didn't hear certain parts of your intervention. But you were trying to point out the fact that the members haven't done what it is that the Nigerian electorate would like, and that it is an aberration that the tail is now wagging the dog instead of the dog wagging the tail. We'll continue to see how they take us. They have pushed back against that. They have said, look, we haven't said that there will be no electronic transmission, as the case might be. We have said that should happen, but should, in case anything happened, because they say it's not foolproof. We have seen how things can happen, and you know, anything that has to do with technology is not foolproof, and we cannot just have the elections, you know, being held to ransom, so to speak. They believe that they should still have that backup on paper, and in any case, they believe that what has been snapshotted by the Beavers machine will continue to remain there until it is transmitted. So they believe that the fears that we have been misplaced. I do not know whether the explanation of members of the House has done you any good in this regard.
The explanation has fallen very short and flat in the face of plenitude of evidence given by technically competent people. Many people have come to demonstrate, including the former INEC engineer who introduced and supervised the development of
I can hear you. I can see you speaking, but I can't seem to hear you. I do not know if that is from my end or yours.
Perhaps you check your end too. Maybe you check your end. I'm hearing you clearly. I'm hearing you clearly. I'm hearing you clearly. Perhaps.
All right, Barrister. Well, what we'll do is that we'll try and work on that audio again, and then we'll come back to you. But right now in the studio, we have since been joined by Dr. Alexter Adum, who is a legal practitioner and also the former Attorney General of Benue State. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, Barrister.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, this is what we're now seeing. We're looking at political developments. One of our guests is right there joining us via Zoom, and he's still expressing his angst on the new Electoral Act. But while that is going on, we also heard yesterday that the ADC, the African Democratic Congress, is quite alarmed at a plot they say is to impose a new chairman on them. They believe that powerful elements within the within the All Progressives Congress is trying to impose a leadership on them. According to them, they say that the INEC, that's the Independent National Electoral Commission, is about to recognize Mr. Nafiu Balagumbe, who is an expelled member of the party, as the ADC national chairman. And they say that there is no legal basis for any confusion, as the leadership remains firmly under Senator David Mark, following a combined meeting of the National Working Committee and National Executive Committee, witnessed by INEC officials in July 2025. What are your observations in this regard?
Yes, the alarm raised by the ADC is very correct because subsequent to the Court of Appeal decision, which was to the effect that the appeal by Senator David Mark arising from the decision of the Federal High Court not to grant an ex parte order against the extant NWC of the ADC for INEC to recognize them. The David Mark NWC appealed the judgment on the basis of that the court having established that there is no prima facie basis for the grant of an ex parte order should have struck out the matter. The Court of Appeal, in its own opinion, said no. This matter has a prima facie case. Go back to the Federal High Court. Let the matter be heard on its merit. That was the only order. And the court now emphasized the need for expeditious hearing of this matter, and also asked that the status quo ante bellum be maintained. And status quo simply means the peaceful position of things prior to the contested issues in court. And the position was that as at 1st of July, prior to the resignation of Nafiu Bala on the 25th of May 2025, which made him functus officio, he had ceased to be a member of the NWC of the ADC.
So he willingly resigned?
He willingly resigned.
But why does the party maintain he was expelled?
Beyond his resignation, he resigned as a member of the NWC, not a member of the party. The expulsion from the party was because of his subsequent anti-party activities thereafter. So resignation from a member of the NWC is resignation from an office, not resignation from the party. Expulsion from the party is the delisment or the disability of membership of the party. So he resigned on the 25th of May. The NWC came into being on the 1st of July and was ratified by the neck of the ADC on the 29th of July in a meeting that was observed and witnessed by INEC. So status quo ante bellum, as at the time Bala went to court in September, it was David Mark, Ralph Aregbensola, and the extant members of the NWC that were in office, not Nafiu Bala or any of his colleagues.
If it's so straightforward, what then is being contested in court?
You see, that is why we say it is an APC agenda. Nafiu Bala and his co-travelers are being promoted by the APC.
How do you know that? Do you have evidence?
No, we are politicians and we live in this city. And we know the undercurrents of things when they happen. Because when the matter is kept live in the media, it is because somebody is sponsoring the media to re-emphasize the fact that there is a faction in the ADC. There is no faction in the ADC. A faction presupposes, under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, a faction in the political party presupposes a division at the national level. Now, a division can only occur when incumbent members of the NWC of the political party, that's the leadership of the political party, is divided into two or more factions. Now, the extant leadership of the NWC is united, one whole united whole. There is no division in the NWC of the ADC. So, calling Nafiu Bala a former aggrieved member of the party, who has since lost his membership, as leading a faction of the ADC is a misnomer. Because Nafiu Bala is no longer a member of the ADC. And since he resigned from the NWC on the 25th of May, 2025, he cannot validly lead a faction of the ADC. So when the matter is promoted as a faction, it is because somebody behind is beating the drum. And that person who's beating the drum is no other person than the APC. That is why, shortly after the Court of Appeal decision, they decided to surreptitiously, behind the closed door, write to INEC to demand that INEC enforce a judgment of the Court of Appeal. Now, if you look at the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, under Section 287, subsection 2, all decisions of the Court of Appeal of Nigeria are to be enforced throughout the Federation of Nigeria. But it does not lie within the mouth of litigants to demand how to enforce an order of the court or construct the enforcement of the orders of the court. So the counsel to Nafiu Bala has no local standard, no authority at all to write to the INEC chairman to demand that they recognize David Mark when the Court of Appeal didn't say a thing like that. And if we didn't rise up early and raise the alarm, you will be surprised that in this country, they will now deploy an administrative route to override to achieve what they couldn't achieve in the judicial determination before the Court of Appeal. In any case, this matter is still live before the Federal High Court. The merits of the matter have not even been determined.
When will the matter be heard?
The Court of Appeal ordered that the parties should return back to the Federal High Court.
Indeed.
Now, the Federal High Court is now in a position to determine when. They haven't issued a hearing notice. Once they issue a hearing notice and a date, parties will return back to court. And the arguments will be canvassed as to whether or not, and issues have been joined with Nafiu Bala as to his competence, his local standard, and his capacity to file the suit against David Mark. These matters will be determined at the Federal High Court. And when they are determined at the Federal High Court, for or against any other parties, we still have a right to go back to the Court of Appeal and then to the Supreme Court.
In other words, a date is yet to be set.
A date is yet to be given by the Federal High Court.
Okay. Let me go back to Mr. Naji now. I'm hoping, Barrister, that we will be able to hear you. I'm sure you're also monitoring developments here in Abuja with the African Democratic Congress. But, you were expressing I was just saying that the explanation which members gave subsequently is that we haven't said no to electronic transmission. What we have said is that we must have a backup. Has it provided any comfort whatsoever to you? Because, as they'll say, maybe it's some half-bread, maybe it's some halfway measure, or maybe it's actually to make sure that the elections are really not held to ransom.
Well, in truth, there should be no half measures. Are you hearing me?
Loud and clear, sir.
They don't have measures. I think they know what is right. They know what is right. The other thing is that when somebody wants to be cheeky, they begin to devise one chicanery or one kind of trick. The truth of the matter is that this country has seen a lot in the electoral firmament. We are tired of people coming to carry the ballot boxes, kill people, and make electoral processes so cumbersome and expensive. What ordinarily should have brought joy to people coming to elect their preferred candidates, people stay away or come at their own peril. That shouldn't be. And it gives room for touts and the renegades that many of whom we have in power today to be the ones presiding over the affairs, where the wrong people are managing the affairs of the right people. You can't get anything right. So there shouldn't be any half measures. We know that the banks are operating this electronic system, transmission, real time. And if it fails, we have been given a demonstration that once the data enters the device, and we have seen that even in the other devices, it's already there. So if you capture the man and take it by way of thuggery, it doesn't. It's of no value to you. So these things they are doing is just to devise a means through the back door whereby they can still achieve their dubious intention. So we shouldn't go that route. Look at the frenetic and the speedy manner in which they are trying. The House of Rep made provision for the criminalization of certain processes there. They should also do so in amending the Electoral Act from the angle of transmission of results. And let us have peace. Who is afraid of the ballot box? If you want to avoid the kitchen, leave the kitchen and don't complain about the smoke.
It's run out
I've
to you,
often said, yes. Thank you,
Oh,
Mark.
loud and clear, sir.
Well, thank you, Mark. You know, it's one of those things that I, sometimes think about. I mean, you just talked about the kitchen now. And in my mind, I'm always wondering how come we complain about the kitchen being the way it is when the people who can clean the kitchen with clean hands, who have clean hands and can clean the kitchen, do not want to get their hands dirty to clean the kitchen. What is your take on that one? Because there are those who are wondering, how come people who have capacity, who have run businesses and who have done very well with it, can also get into politics and try to help clean the stable so that it becomes incorruptible? What are your thoughts on that?
You're good to see you in the first instance.
Thank you, sir.
Very well. I believe that you will recall that in 2007, I contested the governorship of Enugu State. And I am aware that so many people know and knew then that what happened was that there was no result, because they had to hold the results after many days before they released it, having doctored the results in such a way that the voters exceeded the number of all the voters registered in Enugu combined. So it is clear. That was when things were a little bit ordered. Now, any sane person will not want to join the fray because the toxicity, is it by level of violence, chicanery, manipulations, audacious display of power, raw power. For example, we are witnesses to even the political processes going on now, to ensure that candidates from other political parties do not emerge, not to talk about whether the polity will have a choice to make during the election. We know that in the political firmament, there is a lot of clamor for the opposition to be allowed to breathe. A lot. So, in such a situation, even when you may not say that the incumbent might be the direct engineer of the circumstance, those who want to outplay themselves in their show of loyalty are even more dangerous in devising means to impress their master, even though the buck stops at the master's table, for not calling out or calling in those people who are doing that to spare him some measure of integrity. So when you say people are not coming, there are so many people who want to come out and they have ideas. They are very competent in their areas of calling. They want to serve. They are not interested in stealing money. But only those who are interested in stealing money are allowed, because a thief will not want a good pastor. Mark my word, I said a good pastor, because being a pastor doesn't necessarily mean that you may not be a thief. A good pastor will never be allowed to be part and parcel of an armed robbery gang, because they will consider him, consider his presence there as an espionage, not a membership. So that is what is happening in the country. Just go to the various parts of the world. You see Nigerians in different walks of life doing marvelously well. What is difficult for a medical doctor with special experience and the specialties coming home to man certain areas? They won't come home because even kidnapping alone will not allow them. Just the mere fact that you have come home means that you have come with dollars. And the system we have cannot provide security. And yet people are angling to return to office. They can't do so at the will of the people. They can only do so by the time they win the people using some measure of chicanery or violence.
Okay.
That is the issue.
Yes.
That is the issue.
There's another issue that I know you're also interested in, but let me take that first to our Abuja studio. You know, Dr. Adam, a good number of parties, politicians, have raised issues about Section 77 of the Electoral Act, which says a political party registered under this shall be a body corporate with perpetual succession and a common seal and may sue and be sued in its name. But there are a number of other things under the 7 subsections of that law that people are raising issues with, one of which is that a party shall maintain a digital register of its members containing the name and some other details, and Section 4, beg your pardon, subsection 4 says, each political party shall make such register available to the commission not later than 21 days before the date fixed for the party primaries, congresses, or conventions. Are there other sections of this, subsections of this particular provision that you or people in your party are raising issues with?
Yes, thank you, Ayo. You see, the whole amendment to the 2026 Electoral Act was designed essentially to further one-party agenda of the APC. And I say this with all sense of responsibility, because if you look at the section you have referenced and several other sections which we have query with, that particular section appears to make it impossible for other political parties to be able to meet up these digital requirements before the conduct of congresses and their primaries. And why do I say this? You will recall that because the APC constitute the leadership of the National Assembly, and these proposals in the Amendment Act were there before them. So what they did was to give, what you call a head start to the APC So the APC started its digital membership revalidation exercise as far back as 2025. By 2026, the Electoral Act was amended, and then the timetable for the conduct of election compressed and brought back to ensure that other political parties are not able to meet up with the requirements of having a functional digital register and, manual register, to submit to INEC 21 days before the conduct of congresses, primaries, and conventions. So we have a query with that. INEC is a regulator, and for regulatory transparency, it's important that an act that was signed was amended in 2026. The very next day, the president signed it, and those provisions came into effect when other political parties were still not ready for that particular exercise. So the best practice would have been provisions in the Electoral Act that will impact negatively on the ability of other political parties to organize to be able to give a competitive competition in the 2026 general election. You keep them in abeyance to allow everybody to organize. But in spite of that, we have gone ahead. We are doing our digital register, and ditto for all the other opposition political parties, including the PDP. But look at several of the other sections that were amended. Take section 138, for instance, that removes the issue of certificate forgery as a ground for election, a ground for challenging the return of an election.
Sorry,
Yeah,
just 1 second, Dr. Adom. Just 1 second. My apologies. On the electronic register that you talked about, I'm looking at the Electoral Act of 2022 now, Section 76, subsection, Section 77, subsection 2 says, every registered political party shall maintain a register of its members in both hard and soft copy. And each political, subsection 3 says, each political party shall make such register available to the Commission not later than 30 days before the date fixed for the party primaries, congresses, or convention. It means then that this provision had existed even before now.
Yeah, the provision existed before now, but the enforcement of that provision was subject to some kind of mitigation, because you know that not every the digital register thing required you to also link it up with the National Identity Management System, and the National Identity Management System database was not complete at that particular time. So it's allowed, even now it is not complete. So when you see several of our members who want to register digitally across the country are unable to register because of the lack of national identity management, management card. And so Nigeria is not at the stage where you will enforce such a provision 100%. But what this new Electoral Act is insisting, or what the new INEC is insisting, is that those provisions must be enforced in total. And we are saying if you wanted to enforce those provisions, then you must have given the political parties notice ahead of time. That notice didn't come. Usually what the law had said in the 2022 Electoral Act is that INEC will give notice of election 1 year ahead of election. And if INEC had released that notice of election, the timetable of activities, it would have been clearly indicated. What we are complaining is not essentially the provisions in the Act, but the way and manner INEC has decided to manage its administrative exercise in relation to the provisions of the Act. We are saying that we are negatively impacted, and we must accept this. If the INEC didn't give the APC the head start, the APC would have started most of the things they were doing in 2025 because they knew beforehand. And that's why we're complaining.
Okay.
So when I talk about Section 138, which I also want to mention briefly, sir, is that because when you remove qualification as a ground for contesting election, some people have argued that the removal of qualification as a ground for contesting election is because qualification is a pre-election matter. But that's not the settled jurisprudence of Nigerian election petition. The settled jurisprudence is that qualification is both a pre-election and a post-election matter, because facts relating to qualification may be available to the opponent prior to the conduct of primaries. those facts may not be available until after the conduct of a general election. So are you saying that once a general election is conducted, then somebody cannot question an incompetent person who has been elected into the office when the Constitution says such a person should not hold public office or elected office in Nigeria?
I wonder
because
if
when
that's
you say qualification,
not, just second,
the amendment
Dr.
does
Adum.
not do any harm.
Yeah, my apologies. I wonder if that is not more of an internal affair of a political party, or something that the political class themselves ought to be. Just a second. That the political parties ought to deal with by themselves in the name of patriotism, but maybe that's a subject for another time. Mr. Naji, I'd like you to comment on that, particularly that provision in Section 77. It's a matter that the previous act had talked about, and the issues being raised by Dr. Adum now kind of makes it conditional in a sense. What are your thoughts on that, Mr. Naji?
I share the views of the last speaker, because that is the law. That is the chicanery we are talking about, whereby the current persons in authority are trying to get around the law by hook or crook. How can you even remove the issue of certificate requalification for election as an election petition, say, ground? That shows that we are retrogressing rather than progressing. It is a constitutional issue, but the only thing is the confusion they will create and resolve it into their favor when the time comes, the way they have always done. The Constitution is very clear about forgery of certificates, or those who are not qualified for certain electoral. The electoral process, the election, and the Constitution has stipulations about who can qualify to be, including the lowest level of being primary school certificate holder, but maybe 10 years experience, whatever. That is the lowest you can find under the sun. Yet, people still try to go around it, to skirt around it, to find a chicaneous way of avoiding the process. In a situation where Nigerians are reaping and replete with PhDs, double PhDs in different highly technical professional callings, and you are now having mediocres hanging around at the corridors of power, hammering out policies that are half-baked, that are incapable of advancing the course of the progress of this country. That is the tragedy. And for this particular National Assembly to subscribe to that is the greatest disgrace. Whether they're doing it by somebody manipulating them or of their own accord, it cannot be sustainable. It can't, because when they are hoping that they are just proposing. God will continue to dispose at the end of the day, because this country is for everybody. It's not for a select few that have actually done so much to kill it. The main people that have been working very assiduously to advance it are the ones that are being emasculated. That is not acceptable. So I agree that that particular practice or what they want to achieve there is completely wrong, and it will not be sustainable, because at the final analysis, the Constitution will prevail no matter the panel that want to produce a jaundiced judgment over the matter whenever it comes up.
Well, Mr. Naji, we have to thank you very much for your submissions this morning and your interventions. Thank you so much for joining us. We do apologize for the technical hitches that we had. It does appear that at least we're able to surmount it eventually. Mr. Chima Naji is a legal practitioner and also a social commentator. Thank you once more, sir.
Thank you very much.
Well, Mr. Adum, you're still here with us. In 30 seconds, this matter is still in court as the ADC's internal squabble with Mr. Bala, is it Gumbi, Mr. Bala Gumbi. I'm just wondering, how do you think that this matter is going to be resolved? Because this certainly is a very strong allegation you're making against the APC, but this matter has to be resolved as quickly as possible. so that the party can really move on ahead of 2027 elections?
Well, ordinarily, because the matter is still pending in court, it's sub judice, for me to give a comment as to the merit or the demerit of the matter. My earlier comments were with respect to the analysis of the Court of Appeal judgment, which is a decided case already. So it's subject to review and analysis. However, for me to make a direct comment as to how this matter can be resolved one way or the other before the Federal High Court is to, as a former Attorney General, I know it's incumbent on me to avoid putting myself in a position where I'm accused of sub judice. So I won't make a statement as to the merit of the matter before the court, but I'm just giving you the facts that needs to be in the public opinion, that this matter is instituted by someone who, in my own opinion, and who by the records available at the ADC National Secretariat, is no longer a member of the party, is no longer a member of the NWC. Now, the courts have heard generally when those kind of issues come, not preempting what the court will do, the Federal High Court will do, but such people are generally meddlesome interlopers. So if you want me to use a media term that will summarize exactly what Banfi Bala is doing, is busybodying.
All right. We'll wait and see how this matter, because what it seems you're pointing to is that it can only be resolved by the courts of law. Is that correct? It can be,
yeah, it can be. Because the matter is already before the court. If the parties talk about an out-of-court settlement, it's possible to also have an out-of-court settlement. But the truth of the matter is that by the constitution of the ADC, for someone who has been expelled from the party like Nafiu Balagumbi, the only way he can have a local standard or a grant to be a part of a negotiation process or a settlement process with the ADC is for him to come back, amend his bad ways, and seek revalidation of his membership, which is currently ongoing. If he revalidates his membership and he's captured as a member of the ADC, he can come with his complaint, for discussions with the national leadership of the party, and perhaps we can find an amicable, peaceful resolution of the matter.
All right, it's a fine place to leave it. Dr. Alex Teadum is a legal practitioner and also the former Attorney General of Benue State. Well, that's the program this beautiful Tuesday morning. Thank you so much for being a part of it. Just to also let Lamata know, we're still keeping tabs on what is happening in Ikorodu, because we understand that the buses which were provided on Thursday and Friday have now ceased to appear. So we hope that Lamata and the Lagos State government will take a second look at that. But thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful rest of your day. This is our